Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Kim here, and I'm back with another one. Today, I did get questions. Thank you guys for those who asked those questions. Today, I'm actually going to start with the best worst thing I saw last week. And the best worst thing I saw last week or this week or anytime this winter is the weather. What is going on with this weather? And this is going to be a worst thing, or really a best thing for me, worst thing for probably some of you guys. I know my fiance was talking about us having a warm winter is going to cause us to have a very warm summer in terms of fire season. It's going to be pretty smoky, I'm guessing. I'm interested to see how that turns out. But man, like, what is up with this weather? What is going on with this weather? I mean, I think this is a definite sign that global warming is real. I mean, we're in Montana and we're dealing with 40s, 40s, and I think it got close to 50 like a week ago in Montana in February, in January. This is like the coldest months of the year, and our weather is crazy. I have a story about that, and the story is, so I remember I think it was Hauk's second year. It might have been like 2019, 2020. Like, I think it was that window where COVID happened. So we didn't do a lot of playing that year. We did a lot of practicing, a lot of winter condo. Don't take me back to that. But interesting year. But I remember, I can't remember what it was. It might have been a spring practice, but Coach Hauk came up to me, excuse me, and he was like, what is something that, like, you guys want or you think you guys need that you guys don't have? And I remember it didn't even take me any time to think about. I remember I was like, we need winter coats, Coach Hauk. Like, every team has winter coats. The volleyball team has winter coats. Softball team, the soccer team has winter coats. The basketball team has winter coats. And I think some of that was because we have like 80 to 100 players on the team, so it's hard to get 80 to 100 players jackets. We have jackets now. But I remember Coach Hauk, like, he made an interesting face, and, you know, he was like, interesting. And I think like a week, or maybe not even a week, I think it was like a month, 2 months later, we all got fitted for our jackets. But I remember it was the end of winter, so like we got the jackets, but nobody really got to wear them. But I remember everybody was like elated. But the reason I bring this up, one, because we're talking about weather, but two, because it's always been a joke with at least the guys I played with, that like I was the guy that got us the jackets. Even though Coach Hauk, I mean, I could have told him we wanted anything, we needed anything, but I saw the need for my team. I saw that we needed these jackets. I saw that we were struggling out here, and, you know, I was able to get it done for us. So you're welcome to all my young Grizz guys. You know, I appreciate your thanks that you're giving me for getting you guys the jackets. You know, I'm very humble about what I was able to do for you guys, and I'm glad that you guys are warm in the wintertime now. Anyway, that was one topic I wanted to talk about. Another topic I wanted to talk about was, so FCS Fans Nation on Twitter, I'm sure a lot of you guys follow them. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen their content. They posted this graphic, and we're going to look at the graphic right now. Okay, so FCS Fans Nation dropped this graphic talking about FCS schools with points in the Super Bowl. One, I was pretty bummed to see that the Grizz aren't on here. There's no Montana Grizzly. You see Mississippi Valley State. We all know who that is. That's Jerry Rice. What I was trying to do is trying to figure out, like, what player correlates with what school. So, like, Montana State. I believe they had a kicker who was pretty good, so I got to believe those 11 points are from him. But then, like, South Dakota State, did Dallas Goddard score in the Super Bowl? I mean, I don't even know who other players have played for them. So maybe you guys in the comments can help me out with, like, what player correlates with each school. I'd be interested to know, because, like, Portland State, who from Portland State made it to a Super Bowl or played in a Super Bowl? Weber State. A lot of these, I got to believe a lot of these actually have to be kickers. Well, no, they don't. But, like, who scored 2 points in a Super Bowl for Weber State? Maybe a kicker, kicked 2 extra points. Like, 2 points for Texas A&M Commerce, probably a kicker. I got to believe a lot of these got to be kickers, because I know a lot of FCS kickers make it to the NFL. Like, Eastern Washington, I got to believe, I'm pretty sure Cooper Kupp scored a touchdown or 2 in the Super Bowl, so a lot of that's probably him, if not all of it's probably him. But then, like, North Dakota, who's that? Delaware State, who's that? Grambling State. Like, a lot of these schools, man, like, I have no idea. But I thought it was a really cool graphic to put up. I thought it was a really cool graphic to put up. I think it's important that we know these things as people who follow the FCS. But, man, I wish there was, like, a little list of names underneath so that we could know who scored all these points, because, you know, I would love to know. It says this data is provided by the Banner Society and an admin. But yeah, maybe you guys can leave some comments in the comment section about who you guys think these players are, who you guys think all of these guys are, and what you guys think about this list. I think it's pretty cool. Thank you, FCS Fans Nation, for posting this. Thank you, the Banner Society, and whatever admin it is for posting this. I think it's a really cool graphic, and I think it's important that we know these things. Okay, so after we looked at that graphic, that's going to do it for the topics that I wanted to talk to. Obviously, my best worst thing, I wanted to talk about that, and wanted to get you guys' thoughts about that, about the winter weather, about what's going on. But now we're going to get into the questions that were asked of me. I didn't get too many, but I got quite a few. So
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
we'll get right into it. First question: why did the chicken cross the road? That's from Tyler C. Smith on Facebook. First off, Tyler, thank you for your question. I don't know. There could be a multitude of reasons why the chicken could cross the road. Maybe the children were on the other side of the road. Well, I guess the chicken is the male, actually, right? And the hen is the female. I don't know farming, and I don't know how farm animals and all that stuff works, but I don't know why the chicken crossed the road. There's a lot of reasons why the chicken could have crossed the road. That will be for you guys to find out why your chicken crossed the road or why this particular chicken crossed the road. That's up to you guys. I don't know. You guys got to figure it out and let me know. Next question from Sean Michael. He said, why do you think some players get overlooked and picked in later rounds or not picked at all? Come in and have great success at the professional level. Is it bad scouting? I'm going to read it one more time. Why do you think some players get overlooked and picked in later rounds or not picked at all? Come in and have great success at the professional level. Is it bad scouting? I think you could definitely contribute it to bad scouting. I'm not going to 100% contribute it to bad scouting. You know, sometimes guys are just late bloomers. Sometimes somebody's college film might not show what, you know, the college scouts are looking for. Maybe some guy has a lot of talent. Maybe some guy has a lot of ability, but maybe the offense that he was in college wasn't able to showcase that ability. I'm just using offense because I'm an offensive guy, but even defensively, maybe he was in a scheme. Maybe he's a stand-up linebacker, but he was in a 3-4 scheme where he's rushing a little more, playing the run, blitzing a little more. I don't know. I don't know. There's a multitude of reasons. It doesn't always have to do with bad scouting. Sometimes guys just go overlooked, like Rashid Shaheed. He tore his ACL in college. I think he went undrafted, but I'm pretty sure they gave him a pretty strong signing bonus, meaning that they believed in him. And we've seen his career blossom. He's been a great receiver for the Saints. One thing that's interesting about the Rashid Shaheed situation is, like, Weber State had him. We knew he was a dog at Weber State. I mean, all of us, the players playing against him, we knew he was a dog. We knew he was really fast. We knew he was really good, but they never threw him the ball in the passing game. I mean, we've seen what this dude has done in the NFL. Taking the top off of defenses week in and week out, catching deep shots. I mean, you name it, post, fades, anything deep down the field, Rashid Shaheed is doing it in the NFL. And I'm just wondering why they didn't utilize him that at Weber State. I mean, I know they like to run a balanced offense. I think they really ran a little more than they passed at Weber State when he was there. I think they're still kind of that way now. But I'm just wondering why, but he's a perfect example of somebody who, maybe scouts didn't feel like had the ability to get drafted, or maybe they felt like he had the ability, but he was coming off an ACL, so they didn't want to draft him. But ultra talented, had an injury, didn't get drafted, ended up falling to an undrafted free agent, but now, he's a staple for their offense and one of the better receivers on their team. So, there's a multitude of reasons. I think at some times it could be contributed to scouting, but a lot of times when those guys are UDFAs anyway, there's not a lot of people who are going to take a chance on them anyway. It's like basically like everybody had those guys as UDFAs. Like nobody really had a round grade on them, like 1 through 7 round grade on them. Most of them were UDFAs. I mean, there's a lot. I think some of it's bad scouting, yes, but some of it also is contributed to a lot of other things, like scheme, college scheme, what your college film says. Some guys may improve after college. So, maybe some guys weren't as dedicated as they were in high school as they were in college as they are now in the NFL. So, when you put more time into the game, you get more out of it. So I think that also may be a reason why some guys go unlooked, because they didn't have the same work ethic, and now that they do have that work ethic, you're able to see them flourish as a player in the National Football League. But there's a multitude of reasons, but as you said, sometimes it can be bad scouting. Thank you, Sean Michael. Also, thank you, Tyler C. Smith, for your question, but thank you, Sean Michael, for your question. Okay, this question is from Ina Latrice Jones. That is my mother. I love you, Mom. Thank you for this question. She said, what do you think about the USFL XFL merger? Okay, so as you guys know, I played in the USFL last year. I didn't get drafted. I was a free agent signing to the Stars and played the last season with them. I got signed in September of 2022, played with them in the 2023 season. It was amazing. I loved everything about it. Towards the end of the season, they started talking about a merger. And a lot of people, I think, thought the merger was going to be like 12 to 16 teams, 10 to 12 teams, I think was what a lot of people were thinking, maybe not taking all 8 teams or all 16 teams from both leagues, but, maybe keeping, 6 from one league, 4 from the other, 6 from one league, 6 from the other. I don't know. I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be 10 to 12 teams. It ended up only being 8 teams. So they cut 4 teams from the XFL and they cut 4 teams from the USFL. Technically, the XFL Roughnecks are the USFL Houston Gamblers, but they have the Roughnecks name because I think they had a better brand or whatever, but they're both in Houston. Either way, there's only 8 teams now, and the Stars did not survive. I think if we would have made the playoffs, they might have survived, but either way, the Stars did not survive, and that means I didn't have a team, so I'm a free agent now. But what I think about the XFL merger, I think it's a great thing for spring football. I think spring football is needed. I think one thing you see when you watch the XFL and the USFL is that there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of guys who can play this game at a really high level. A lot of guys just don't get opportunities. And I think that's one thing that the USFL and XFL are giving is a great opportunity for guys to, one, make a decent amount of money, but two, continue their playing careers as well. I was pretty bummed that there was only 8 teams. I thought that there should have been 10 to 12. I'm not a decision maker. Obviously, it's a business. Obviously, there's money that plays a part into it. So that's important to take into consideration with all of this. It's a business at the end of the day. You're looking at that balance sheet. Are we in the red? Are we in the green? That's ultimately what's going to rule the decision. And I think that's ultimately what did rule the decision with the XFL-USFL merger. But in terms of the long term of spring football and its longevity and the survivability of the league, I think them merging is a great thing. The XFL has a really strong brand. If you look at social media, they have a really strong brand. Even me, when I was playing in the USFL, everybody who came up to me was like, don't you play in the XFL? I'm like, no, I play in the USFL. But just judging off that, you can tell that the XFL has a really strong brand. I think the USFL has really strong partners. Fox owning the league, I think that's a really good partner for the XFL and the USFL to have with them. I just think it's a great situation for the XFL and USFL and spring football in general. I think it's going to do great things for guys in their football careers and the opportunities that they are able to get from that. As you saw, Kevontae Turpin, first year in the NFL, after playing in the USFL, he played in the ELF. I think he played arena ball, made it to the USFL, was the USFL MVP, got signed to a 3-year deal with the Cowboys, and was a Pro Bowler, All-Pro returner his first year in the league. Brandon Aubrey, back-to-back championships with the Birmingham Stallions, got signed to the Cowboys, All-Pro, Pro Bowl kicker in the NFL. So just there's success stories all over the place, but more than anything, I think it gives opportunities, and I just think it allows guys to keep playing the game that they love, and it gives also fans a thing that they can watch. I think the league this year, the XFL, USFL, the UFL as it's now called, the United Football League, I think it's going to be really competitive this year. You're merging 2 spring leagues of guys that are already trying to get into the NFL, already fighting for opportunities. Now you put them in an even more condensed league, having them fight for even less opportunities. I think it's going to be ultra competitive. I think the games are going to be really awesome to watch. I think it's just going to be amazing. I think it's going to be an amazing year. I think the UFL is great for football in general, the brand of football in general, and I think it's going to do nothing but drive more fans to want to watch the game through spring football and through, fall football. I mean, it's an amazing thing, and I think it's ultimately going to benefit football as a whole. Those are my thoughts on the USFL, XFL merger. Thank you, Miss Ina, for the question. I appreciate you. This next question is from Todd Shaner. What's your take on PAC-2 Mountain West? Do you think they'll merge and do a promotion relegation model? How do you think that will affect the Big Sky Missouri Valley conferences? Do you see it affecting other conferences? Man, I think the Pac-2 and the Mountain West, I think they're definitely going to have to do something. Excuse me. I mean, because if you look at the landscape of college football right now, there's no Power 5 conferences on this side of, whatever, the Mississippi, whatever you want to call it. There's no Power 5 conferences anywhere in this area besides besides what was the Pac-12, now is the Pac-2. I think the only logical thing for them to do would be to go to the Mountain West. The Mountain West and the Pac-2 they have to merge. I don't really see anything else happening. Are Washington State and Oregon State going to join the Pac-12 and go play? Not the Pac-12, the Big 12, and go play a bunch of Big 12 schools? One, that's a lot of travel. But two, that's just a big conference. The Big 12, I think now, I guess they lost Texas and OU added, Arizona, Colorado, BYU, Cincinnati. The Big 12 is a big conference in general, so I think they already have a lot of teams. I don't know if they'd be opposed to adding Washington State and Oregon State, but Washington State and Oregon State are definitely in limbo. I think the best option for them, I mean, they weren't super competitive in the Pac-12 as it was. I think we saw Oregon State be competitive this year, and they've been actually pretty competitive the last 5 years. I think Oregon State has been competitive, not really great in the conference, but competitive. They're not an easy out. Washington State obviously has had their ups and downs. I think they started off really strong with Cam Ward last year, but they weaned off towards the middle and end of the season. So I think they would fit well in the Mountain West. I don't know so much if the Pac-2 and the Mountain West merge, if that would affect Montana, if that would affect the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley too much. I don't know why that would affect them or how it could affect them. I think it could have ripple effects. I mean, I think this merging of leagues is ultimately having ripple effects on college football and FCS football as a whole. So for me to say that it's not going to have an effect on the Big Sky and Missouri Valley would be naive. I think it definitely could have an effect on the Missouri Valley and Big Sky Conference. I don't know what those effects would be, because it's so say Washington State and Oregon State both go to the Mountain West. Then my question is, how does that affect Montana? I mean, how does that affect the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley? I don't really see how them adding those two schools, which maybe some of the Big Sky teams might play in, a paid game, a tune-up game for them. It's not always a tune-up game, because Montana beat UW in 2021, and it was supposed to be a tune-up for them. We tuned up. They were our tune-up. We were like, we don't know how we're going to be this year. Let's use this Washington team to see how we're going to be. We used them. We won. Just like that. But I don't know how, I just don't see how the ripple effects affect the Big Sky. I mean, unless they add those two schools and then they're looking to also add more schools, I think that could affect, because then they're definitely going to come looking at the Missouri Valley, and they're definitely going to come looking at the Big Sky for teams to add. But I think the Mountain West is already a pretty hefty conference in itself. So I'd be interested to know why, how that would affect the Big Sky and Missouri Valley. I think one of the biggest things that could affect is our paid games. I don't know if the Missouri Valley, the Mountain West has as much money as a Power 5 conference. So in turn, I don't know if those schools would then have the money to pay some of us to play them. Because as you can see, I think Montana State played Wyoming a couple years ago, but I don't think we played too many Mountain West schools. I guess Idaho played Nevada. So I don't know, because, we play Mountain West schools all the time too. I'm just thinking about Idaho playing Nevada, beating Nevada. I'm thinking about Montana State 2021 almost beating Wyoming, another Mountain West school. So I don't know the ripple effects it would have on the Big Sky Conference and the Missouri Valley Conference. I'm sure it would have some effects. As we've seen all these conference realignments, they've had effects on every school, every conference in college football. I mean, everybody's felt the effects. So we'll see. But I think it could have an effect. I think it will have an effect if they do merge. Personally, I do think the Missouri Valley and the Pac-2 are ultimately going to merge. I don't see any other outlet for Oregon State and Washington State. Obviously, they're in a two-man conference right now, but going forward, for the longevity of those schools, and, everything's about money. I mean, all this conference realignment is about money. I think them staying in the Pac-2 for now is about money. And I think ultimately, if and when they merge with the Mountain West, that's going to be about money too. I mean, that's what college football has become. It's all about money. NIL, money. These coaches leaving, money. These schools merging, money. I mean, it's all about money. So ultimately, wherever the dollars are, I think that's where the Pac-2 and the Mountain West are going to go. And then ultimately, wherever the money is, I think that's where the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley are going to follow. I think ultimately what could benefit the FCS and college football in general is if there was a way to merge some of the best teams from the Big Sky and some of the best teams from the Mountain Missouri Valley and merge them into a conference, and maybe even become a Group of 5 conference. That could be a really good Group of 5 conference. South Dakota State, South Dakota, North Dakota State, Sac State, Montana State, Weber State, maybe Eastern Washington. I know they struggle financially, but they're a good football school. I mean, I think you can do a lot of good things with this conference realignment, and I think it's ultimately going to be good for college football. Well, I don't know if it's ultimately going to be good for college football. I think it's going to be ultimately good for some of these conferences, and like we've seen with the Pac-12, it's ultimately going to be bad for some of these conferences. So I think it's interesting. There are definitely going to be ripple effects. We will have to wait and see what those are. But more than anything, I think first thing that I can tell you is I think that ultimately, Oregon State and Washington State are going to have to end up most likely in the Mountain West, because I don't see them ending up in any other conference. They're so far northwest that I guess you got SC and UCLA who are going to play in the Big Ten, but that travel is going to be a nightmare for them, man. Like, these guys are going to be so tired. These guys aren't going to be getting back from some of their games till freaking 4 or 5 the next day, 4 or 5 in the morning the next day. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens, but conference realignment is a very interesting topic. I might have to do some more research and dive deeper into this topic next week. I appreciate you for that question, Todd Shaner. I may dive more deep into that next week. I'll let you guys know. Next question, Brian Armstrong. With NIL, can teams reach out to players and ask them to look at us? I don't know. I don't think you can. That sounds like an NCAA violation to me, just by off the hearing it. I haven't even seen the rules, but I know there are a lot of rules on when and how coaches can contact players. I'm pretty sure coaches can only contact players like once a week or something like that. So you have that on the table. But also, like, I just think reaching out to a player to tell them to look at your school, like, I think that's illegal. I don't know. I don't know. I think if a player is in, okay, so your question was, with NIL, can teams reach out to players and ask them to look at us? No, I don't. I don't think NIL changes any of that. I don't think coaches can just reach out to players and tell them to look at us. I think when a player enters his name into the transfer portal, I think then it allows a coach to be able to get into contact with that player. Now, the nature of how often that contact can be, I think it's limited on how often they can contact them. But I think a school cannot, a school cannot contact a player until his name is entered into the transfer portal. Technically, we know that's not what's going on today in college football, but that's how the rule is supposed to be. You're not supposed to contact somebody until their name is in the transfer portal. Once their name is in the transfer portal, I think, it's up to these collectives to contact these players. Obviously, the coaches are going to be into contact, but I think if you want to talk NIL, I think you have to talk to the collectives, because I think it could get very muddy, and I think there's probably some NIL legislation that's out there talking about how, it's not pay for play, so why would you bring up NIL in recruitment of a player? Obviously, that's what's going on. We all know that's what's going on. But if you're talking to me about can they do it? Yes. Are they allowed to do it? I don't think so. So I think you're kind of asking two different questions here. They can contact players and tell them to look at us. They can use the NIL and tell them, look, we have all this NIL money. We can pay you this, this, and that. They can do that. Is it legal? I don't so much know if it's legal. I'd go on a whim to say it's not legal through NCAA. The NCAA has a lot of rules out there about recruiting, about NIL. Not so much about NIL, but about recruiting. And, NIL is being used in recruiting today. So all of that plays hand in hand. I think we are seeing that legislation is going to be coming down very soon. I know, I don't know why I didn't put this on here, but I know that there was just recently some states are suing the NCAA because of NIL and because of recruitment. So I know that's a hot topic. Maybe I'll touch on that next week as well, about NIL and how these states are starting to fight back. We need this money for recruiting. We're now in an era where NIL has to be used in recruiting. These players are demanding it. It's just something that you have to have in order to stay afloat. So within that, there needs to be some type of rules and regulations on how all of that stuff is going to be legislated. And also, if that is the way the game is being played, these schools have to conform. So with that, I think some of these states are finding it kind of hard with some of the NIL legislation that is out there right now, and some of the NCAA rules that are kind of being restricting what schools can do in their NIL in their recruitment with NIL and with these collectives and everything. So your question, I'll just restate it again for everybody that's paying attention. With NIL, can teams reach out to players and ask them to look at us? I think you can. I think that's an NCAA violation, but you can do anything you want to do, but the NCAA will have their say as well. So if you do that, if that is something that schools are doing, just know that the NCAA will have the last word eventually. Right now it doesn't seem like the NCAA is doing anything about any of this recruiting stuff, but I think eventually they'll have something to say, or eventually the NCAA won't be a thing. So they can reach out to players, and I know they are reaching out to players all over the place. I don't know what the nature of these conversations are. I don't know if I'm sure they're using a third party to kind of, jump over that NCAA rule or whatever it is, recruiting rules. So they find loopholes in all of this stuff. So the answer to the question is yes. Yes, they can. I mean, these schools really, what it seems like right now is these schools are able to do anything they want with NIL. If they have NIL money, they're able to do whatever they want. And the NCAA is just trying to catch up. So we will see how that all turns out. But thank you so much, Brian Armstrong, for your question. I don't know if I said your name at the beginning, but I'm saying it now. Thank you for your question. Okay. I forgot a question once again. I'm so sorry. Eventually I'll get this right. But the question is from George Wyman. Thank you for your question, George Wyman. And he asked, who do you see starting as Montana QB in 2024? Well, I really could see Keali'i starting. I just know he's been in the system for a year now. He was able to learn behind Clifton and Sam this past season. If I had to put my money on it, I would put it on Keali'i to start. I know he's probably going to be a redshirt freshman next year because I don't think he played in more than 4 games. But he was able to play a little bit, so I think that's good experience for him. Personally, I think he needs more time behind center for him to really be the perfect match for the Grizz quarterback. I think he has all the talent. I think he has all the ability, but I think he needs more live reps. Now, he's obviously going to get those in practice, but the game is much different. I don't know anything about this Fresno State quarterback transfer. I don't know anything about his abilities. I'm pretty sure he threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns, maybe either in his career or last season. I think he's got like 6 touchdowns, maybe 9 interceptions. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong. Personally, I think Keali'i Ayat is going to start. I think the job is his to lose. I think he's done nothing but, wait and watch behind Clifton for this past year and learn what to do and what not to do. Like I said, I think he needs more time. But if you're asking me for who I think is the best option for the starting quarterback, just based off what I saw last year, based off what I've seen on the film and based off what I've watched, I think Keali'i Ayat, it's his job to lose. Now, he's a redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore, whatever he's going to be. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a redshirt freshman. He's young. Obviously, we'll see what happens in spring ball, which is going to start, in like another month. So that'll be interesting, and I'm sure it'll be a fierce competition. Sam obviously didn't have the season he wanted to have last year, so he's going to be fired up, ready to, fight for that spot. Keali'i Ayat wants that spot, and obviously the guy who they brought in a transfer, I think, is maybe a grad transfer, probably a senior, junior, or senior. He's going to want to play too. So, and I think we must mention that, the Grizz didn't bring him in for no reason. Obviously, he's going to push Keali'i. Obviously, he's going to push Sam. But if he can start, he's obviously going to start. Like, if he has the ability to start, if he's the best quarterback in training camp, if he's the best quarterback in spring ball over the summer, he's going to start. Now, I haven't talked to the coaches. I don't know who they trust or want to start. I don't think anybody would know that. Hauck isn't very forthcoming with information, so that's probably not something that's going to be public knowledge. But if I had to put my money on, I would put it on Keali'i Ayat to start. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room. Obviously, I'm not on the coaching staff, so I don't know for sure. But just based off what I saw and based off my personal opinion, I think it should be Keali'i. But we'll see. There's a competition that's going to be had. They're going to fight for the spot. The coaches are going to make the decision, and we'll see who they roll out. I think the first game is August 29th or August 30th or something like that. But we'll see who's playing then. It'll be exciting to know because obviously what we went through this past season, watching the great quarterback play of Clifton McDowell, the way he invigorated the team, the way he led the team, the way, everybody fed off of his energy. I think that's going to be a tough act to follow. Obviously, he went 13-2, but we went to the national championship with him behind center. Different offensive line this year. The same receivers are coming back. Same running back is coming back. Different defense. So who knows? The offense might need to score more this year just based off of all the weapons. I mean, we're losing Alex Gubner. We're losing Braxton Hill. We're losing Levi Janicaro. We're losing Tyler Flink. We're losing Garrett Graves. We're losing Nash Fouch. We're losing Trajan Cotton. I mean, we're losing a bunch of guys on this defense. So I think the offense might need to score more this next year in order to be able to keep up. I think they'll do a great job with the defense, but we don't know. I mean, those are some staple players. I mean, Braxton was second in the conference in tackles. Alex Gubner was the defensive player of the year in the Big Sky Conference. Nash Fouch, Trajan Cotton, great players, staples on that defense. I mean, just a lot of big names on that defense that we're losing. So it'll be interesting. But in terms of your question, Keali'i Ayat becoming the starter, I think Keali'i Ayat's going to become the starter. Asking if you're asking for my opinion, but I think it'll be a good competition, and I don't think the spot is just going to be gifted to him. I think he's going to have to earn the spot. Knowing how Coach Houck works, I think he's going to have to show day in and day out. You can't just do it one day and then it's like, oh, you're the starter. No, you must prove it day in, day out, day after day that you deserve that spot and that you are the person who's right for that position. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out, but yeah, should be exciting. Last question is from Mark McQuirk. Mick Quirk. Thank you for your question, Mark McQuirk. His question is, your thoughts. Why did Cliff he called him Clifford. Why did Clifton McDowell leave? Temple doesn't seem like an upgrade from the U of M. Was he pushed out because of other quarterbacks coming in? Did he get along with the coaches? Your thoughts. I think there was a multitude of reasons why Clifton left. I would agree with you that I don't think Temple is an upgrade. That's nothing against Clifton. I hope he has an amazing career. I hope he has an amazing I hope he does amazing there. But I don't think it's an upgrade. I don't know exactly why he left. I think there were some disagreements maybe internally with some coaches. I also think that, maybe there were some things he didn't agree with that he just looked past during his time here at Montana. Maybe he had some problems with the coaching staff before the season or during the season. Some problems popped up that he, how when something happens and you kind of just log it in your mind, but you don't really say anything about it in the moment, but you're like, I remember. I think maybe that might be the situation with Clifton. Maybe there were some things that took place that kind of rubbed him the wrong way that, once the season finally ended, he just didn't really agree with him. I don't know why Clifton left. I haven't talked to Clifton. I haven't talked to a lot of the guys on the team. I mean, I've talked to the guys on the team, but I try not to ask them all these super in-depth questions because I don't want to be that guy. But I just think Clifton didn't really like it here. He won a lot here. I'm very thankful for him and his time that he spent here. But I think he was just looking for something new. I mean, if you look at his track record, he's been to 4 schools, I believe, or I think it's now 4. He's been to like 4 or 5 schools. He's never stayed anywhere long. He's always had a new home. That's nothing against him. Sometimes that's just the way it works out. That's not the way I would go about it. I mean, personally, I felt like he had made a great lane here at Montana. I thought he could have flourished here at Montana. I thought, he could have ended up being a legend here at Montana with only the 2 years that he was going to spend here. But he obviously decided to go somewhere else, and he's doing what's best for him, But like I was saying, if you look back at his track record, it's honestly not that surprising that he left. He's been to 4 or 5 schools at this point. He's floated around everywhere. Obviously, he found success in Montana, but I think the fact that he left is not very surprising. I think there definitely has to be, he didn't leave for no reason. So I think there was a multitude of reasons why he left. It might have been NIL. It might have been, him not agreeing with the coaches. Maybe it was the fact that maybe he was told that there was going to be a competition with his position. Maybe he wasn't guaranteed his spot back. I think he played well. There are places where I think he could have played better. I think he could have played better in the passing game. I think he was really good in the running game, but there's definitely things he could have done better. And I wouldn't shy away from saying that. I would say that to him, and maybe that is a conversation he had with the coaches about, you do these exit meetings every year, and this is when you sit down with your position coach. Maybe sometimes you sit down with the head coach, but you sit down with the coaches and they tell you where you stand. If you're a senior, they're telling you, thank you for your time. I appreciate what you did this year, all these things. But I honestly don't even know if I had one as a senior. But as an underclassman, you have these exit meetings and you go sit down with your coach and he tells you, what you need to improve on, just all those things. You talk about the season in a whole. You talk about your practices. You talk about your work ethic, you talk about your grades, you talk about everything. I'm sure Clifton, being an underclassman, well, not really an underclassman, but being somebody who had another year of eligibility, I'm sure he went to the coaches and they had this exit meeting, and there was probably some discussions that were had about, playing time next year. Maybe NIL was brought up, maybe how he did this year from a macro perspective was looked at, what he did from a totality from his whole resume this season. And maybe they told him, there's things that you need to improve on. Maybe they told him, we want there to be a competition at quarterback. I don't fully know what happened, but I'm sure there's something that happened that rubbed him the wrong way. And ultimately it led to him leaving. Yeah, I hope him all the best. I hope he finds great success at Temple. I think Montana was a better spot than Temple as well. I mean, you're going to another G5, leaving one of the top FCS schools in the nation in terms of fan base, in terms of I believe we're probably one of the tops in revenue and in terms of just everything. I think Montana is a great place to be. Obviously, I'm biased. I've never been anywhere but Montana. Every situation is unique. Clifton's situation is not different. His situation is unique as well. So I think more than anything, you'd have to talk to Clifton to know why he left, what it was that led him to leave, and all those things. But I think it was a great year, and I hope he has a good season at Temple. Maybe I'll try to talk to him and ask him why he left. Yeah, that's going to be it for my video today. I appreciate you guys for tapping in. Broke down a lot of topics today. I thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for asking the questions that you did. I appreciate you for asking the questions. Thank you. Thank you. It means the world to me, and I wouldn't have this channel. I wouldn't be doing this channel if it weren't for you guys. So I want to thank you guys for asking the questions. I want to thank you guys for patronizing my channel. I want to thank you guys for patronizing my content, and hopefully you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me a comment, ask me some questions of what you guys want to see next week, and yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys. See you again. See you not again. I won't see you again. I won't see you again today. I'm really bad at these video endings. I always I was just thinking to myself, I was going to cut that out because it didn't look very good. But now we're going to do the ending. Thank you guys for tapping into the channel. I'll see you guys next week.